All right, everyone, we have a bizarre double story today. First and foremost, we found out, of course, that a Chinese spy balloon is floating around currently above Montana, like literally right as we speak. The Biden administration has summoned the Chinese diplomat to deliver a very strongly worded message to them. So we've got an out-to-lunch administration right now that is actively ignoring a spy balloon in U.S. airspace floating around out in Montana. Now, they so far have said they don't intend to shoot the object down. There's a risk of falling debris. After all, the balloon happens to be the size of several fucking buses. That makes sense if it's over an area where there are actually people, but it's currently in the middle of rural Montana. I don't think you have to worry about too much if you decide to blast it out of the sky. You might even be able to get something useful out of it. Maybe there's some secret Chinese technology in there. It's over your airspace, it doesn't have permission, it's of a military or quasi-military function, shoot it the fuck down. But apparently they're gonna wait until it's out over the ocean someday or something like that. Dude, it's been whirling around for days and the Pentagon's been monitoring it and nobody thought to do anything. Or at least alert people, hey, by the way, you might want to not do anything sensitive outside right now because the Chinese are literally watching you fuck in your backyard. Something like that. Building your igloos, rather. I'm sure that they have about 10 feet of snow at the moment. China could have chosen a more interesting time of year to float their spy craft above there. So that's the first revelation. Now, secondly, it looks like there is a tie-in to a separate story. When I got up this morning, of course, I saw that Pentagon was trending when I looked at Twitter. I said, oh God, what the fuck are they doing now? And this story, of course, appears. But there's a separate story also under that same trend, and I'm wondering if this is a connection, if one of these stories is meant to cover the other up. Like, hey, we know that there's a Chinese spy balloon up there. That'll be big news when people realize it. We'll save it just in case we need it. On the same exact day, the FBI decides that it wants to beg Congress for money to build a new headquarters, twice the size of the Pentagon. I find that linguistic usage very interesting. All of the stories are talking about the FBI are using that term, so it would have been trending anyway. Now it's all cluttered up with stuff about a spy balloon. I'm not sure who's screwing who at this moment, the Biden admin or the FBI. I'm really not sure. Maybe they were released at the same time just to reduce the damage of both stories by compacting the news cycle or something like that. So yeah, another piece of evidence that the Joe Biden stewardship is doing so well. Number one with diplomacy. You never would have seen China do this under Trump, just to be clear. They wouldn't have dared. Doing really well at diplomacy and with domestic security. Dude, apparently our skies are now about as secure as our southern border, so huzzah. Congratulations to the Biden administration. Great job. Wonderful. Simply spectacular, swell, and tubular, Joey. Everything's fine. The Chinese can now openly spy on the heartland of the United States, and apparently the Biden admin will monitor the situation. Don't worry, we're keeping an eye on the balloon. They come out and they said, and this is the funny part, they're not even 100% sure about the nature of the balloon, like what its components are. It's clearly a spying device of some sort, or a decoy, potentially. But then they come out and say, well, we're not too worried about it. You know, if we shoot it down, debris might fall, I mean, literally on someone's farm, I suppose. It's in, again, the center of Montana at the moment. But we're pretty sure that it doesn't have any ability to really enhance the Chinese spying capabilities anyway, so we're not too worried about it anyway. Just go home, everyone, everything's fine. But how do you know that? You're monitoring the balloon, you're monitoring the spying apparatus. Okay, that's fine. Probably you can listen in on it giving radio signals or whatever the fuck it's doing, transmitting data of one sort or another. Do you actually know every individual capability of the balloon? Are we going to find out 2 years later that it was a secret test of a new kind of camera that renders like satellite-based cameras obsolete by being able to take high-quality photographs at high altitude but doesn't even need a rocket launch? Are we going to find that out? Are we going to find out that it actually had a bomb on it? That it was weaponized? Are we going to find out that it had a mini nuke on it, for example? Are we going to find out that it was meant to drop a bunch of firebombs or something like that? These are not beyond the realm of Chinese possibility. Just to be clear, back in World War II, the Japanese sent up fire balloons regularly. They didn't do a whole lot, but the concept was novel. I think they managed to kill 2 people in the end. One was a farmer, I think, that found one and it blew up in his face or something like that. How do we know it's not weaponized? This is a hostile country. Even Biden points that out. I'll tell you why he's softballing it. It's because he's partially controlled by China. He is Beijing Biden, just to be clear. He's also the steward, just to be clear as well. This is a huge bonanza for content creators. What a great news day. We've got 2 major stories at once, but I bet that most people won't make the connection. Why Pentagon is trending and these 2 stories happen to be side by side. I have a feeling that that's not coincidental. Oh, the FBI? Yeah, the FBI decides to say this on exactly the same day that Pentagon's already trending to cover their asses. And remember that 9/11 came the day after the Pentagon announced that it couldn't find a significant amount of money, but we won't go into that for fear of being labeled conspiracy theorists. This is nuts. Being with less levity, I say it this way. It is deeply concerning that the United States chief executive is being so nonchalant about a goddamn spy balloon over his own airspace. The fact that they are not taking this apparently more seriously and even considering the possibility of bringing it down to study it to find out what it's been transmitting, what its purpose was, maybe even reverse engineer stuff. You know, Biden's CHIP Act investment bullshit aside, the United States has been falling behind when it comes to certain aspects of tech recently. Well, you can play catch up. China does this all the time. They steal U.S. military secrets and tech secrets constantly. Why don't we return the favor? Hey, thanks for the balloon. You can send him a letter that says that instead of withdrawing the diplomat and saying, hey, why is your country floating a balloon above Montana? I'm sure that he'll be real apologetic. Well, I'm sorry, Mr. Biden, or Mr. Biden's handlers anyway. I'm really sorry about that. Hell, maybe it's a joint project. Maybe that's why they're not shooting it down. Yeah, they're just canvassing. Bill Gates wanted to canvass the farmland in the region to find out what real estate he wants next or something like that. You have no clue. You don't even know technically whether it's a spy balloon. I suppose it's transmitting data and they understand that and just make the assumption. You don't know whether it's weaponized. You don't know what it's looking for. Bring it down. It's in a convenient location. Nobody lives there. It's Montana. Vast state, tiny population, concentrated in a few areas. Just use eminent domain on whatever farm it happens to land on and pay him a shit ton of money in order to recover the goddamn thing and make sure that it's not still transmitting preferably, and then autopsy it and look at it and find out what it was really doing. And instead of summoning the diplomat to China, say you have just physically invaded our airspace. You realize you're breaching several international agreements with our country. What the fuck gives? And instead of namby-pambying it, kick the diplomat out. That's about all. Peace out.